I want to get really raw with you guys today and talk about relationships, which obviously I'm not a relationship coach, but relationships are directly proportionate to our stress. They are one of the first things that gets affected by our stress and our burnout. And so I just want to be really raw with you guys today on like kind of some things I've been going through and some revelations I've had in hopes that they help you. This whole podcast is hoping to help you. So, this is just where I'm at with my lessons in relationships today. And what I will say is relationships, I think for all of us, but I know for me, have always been the biggest teacher, the biggest catalyst for transformation in my life. Work, you know, it has always been a little bit of it, I'd say like a smoother path, even though I did burn out and that's my line of work now. But relationships have always been one that have been a little bit tricky for me. And I've I'm going to be honest, I feel like I've been starting to crack the code a lot more the last couple of years, but it's because I've spent so much time growing and learning in this space.
Welcome back to another episode of the Higher Alignment Podcast, where high performers come to grow without stress, shame, or burning out. I'm Mintu Lam, and I'm here to help you work smarter, live fuller, and feel like yourself again. If you're tired of running on empty, book your complimentary assessment call at higheralignmentconsulting.com/program, and let's figure out what's draining your energy and what you can do to start feeling happy and peaceful once again. You can find the link in the show notes. Now let's get into the episode.
Me and my partner, the past couple months have gone through some things, not with each other, but things we've had to face as a couple that were unexpected. And I'll probably open up about them eventually. And we have become so much stronger because of it. I am even more in love with that man than I was before we went through them, and I didn't even think that was possible. Like had no idea there's a deeper capacity of love for him. And what I've learned is that the strength of your relationships lies in your ability to navigate conflict. Okay. And not even just your relationships with other people, like with a partner, a spouse, a parent, a sibling, a coworker. Your relationship with yourself, also, the strength of that lies in your ability to sit in the discomfort. Okay. And here's what I mean by that. If you're a high achiever who's listening to this, which most of you are already used to putting yourself in uncomfortable situations. You know that growth happens outside of your comfort zone. Okay, we know that. However, what most of us are really good at is finding a solution to the problem. Okay, that's your money maker. That's why you're paid to do what you do, is because you're a great problem solver. Okay. But when it comes to healing and growth in relationships, when I talk about your ability to navigate conflict, I don't mean just your ability to jump to a solution and find a solution. I mean your ability to sit in the pain and the yuckiness and the discomfort and not run away from the truth of the moment. Okay? So that means A, being able to feel all the things, the anger, the hurt, the pain, the sadness. And then the other part of that is not positively bypassing the moment, which means what some people do is they only look for the positives in the situation, which sounds like a good thing. Okay. And it is to an extent. But some people will look for positives to the point that they don't acknowledge what the actual pain or the quote unquote negatives of the situation are. Okay. So for instance, let's say you have a boyfriend that's cheating on you or a girlfriend that's cheating on you, and they continuously do it. They cheat, they lie. And so you can make sense of it and go like, okay, well, when they were a child, they saw this growing up and this happened and this happened. And so this is why they behave this way now. And you can make sense of it. But then just because you can make sense of why they behave like this now doesn't mean you get to excuse the bad behavior. Like, don't let your compassion for them as what they experienced as a child now excuse the fact that they're cheating on you and lying to you all the time. Like that doesn't cancel it out, right? So when I talk about your ability to navigate conflict and sit in the discomfort. That means also sitting in the reality of what the situation is, having discernment, not bypassing into positivity because, again, we can't sit with the pain or we can't sit with the reality. We avoid it by trying to spiritually bypass it or trying to, when I say spiritually bypass, that means find the reason as to why it happened. Like there's a deeper meaning to this. And yes, I do believe in that. There's always a lesson to learn, but the facts are the facts. If he's cheating on you and he's lying on you, then that's the truth, right? Doesn't matter why it happened. Doesn't matter if he had a terrible childhood. The fact is he's still doing these things, and that's what you have to address. Okay? So when we go to your ability to handle these uncomfortable moments determines the strength of your relationship, what I think is important to focus on is first starts with yourself. Like if you struggle to be alone, if you struggle to sit in stillness with yourself without a phone in front of you or a TV, if you struggle to, if you always have to be in a relationship, if you struggle to be alone because you're worried that your thoughts will run rampant or you don't want to be alone with your thoughts, that's the first indicator. That's the first indicator that you're not great at navigating discomfort with yourself. You know what I mean? And like I live with my partner now, but before I lived on my own for years. Like I actually have never lived with a man before, except I had one guy roommate for like a few months. But I've never lived with a significant other before. This is my first time, so I've always lived alone. Okay, and again, haven't had a roommate since I was in my 20s. And I used to be like, well, I'm comfortable being alone because I'm always alone, and like that was true to an extent, but also I would keep myself busy all the time. I would work a lot. I would always be on my phone when I'm at home. If I was going through something hard, like maybe I went through a breakup or I had something really bad happen at work, whatever, I would always need a friend to navigate it with. And that doesn't sound bad, but it was to a point where it's like I would have to be on the phone with someone all the time. And again, probably part of that was because I lived alone and I was alone a lot. But at the root of it, it was that like I didn't feel comfortable sitting with my emotions. I didn't feel comfortable sitting with what was really going on. The pain felt like too much. Okay? So what I realized is that if I wanted to attract a partner into my life that was really good at navigating these tough times with me, then I needed to learn to do that with myself first, right? So if I'm being honest, guys, this really just started getting better in the last couple of years. But whenever something happened in my life that really rocked me, I stopped running from it and I'd start sitting with it. Like I have a deep abandonment wound and a deep wound of not feeling good enough. And what typically happens when you have a wound like that is you turn into a high performer. I'm just being honest, guys. Like that's typically where high performers are driven from is this need to prove themselves. Okay. So that wound over the years has caused me to ignore my needs or sacrifice my needs, not feel comfortable speaking up for myself, always like give to everybody else first before I'm giving back to me. And that includes not only time and energy, but love. It has showed up in so many different ways where, again, I used to look at it as like I'm constantly growing and I'm constantly working on myself because that's what high performing people do. And I realized it got to a point where I was just thought there was always something wrong with me. Like I was obsessed with healing and fixing myself. Where one day I was like, when are you just going to get to a point where you realize you're fine the way you are? Right? Now, that doesn't give me permission to go be an asshole. Like, oh, I'm fine the way I am being an asshole to everybody. Like, obviously I wasn't doing that. Again, discernment and context. But like at some point I had to just be like, you're good enough the way you are. Like you continuously trying to heal and fix yourself is perpetuating the idea that something is always wrong with you. The very thing you're quote unquote trying to fix. Like it's like this vicious cycle, right? And so part of the lesson in learning to get good at navigating conflict or discomfort with myself was learning just to be, and learning that I didn't have to have a full schedule to be worthy. I didn't always have to be dressed to the nines and have all these designer things to be worthy. Like I didn't have to constantly be pushing myself in order to prove my worth to anybody, to my parents, to a partner, to my job, anything, right? And at first that was hard because high performing and pushing myself was my protection mechanism. That was my safety blanket. And that's what made me feel quote unquote good enough. But underneath the surface, it was like I was just scared to get left behind. I was scared to admit that I didn't feel like I was good enough. I was scared to be abandoned. So I'd sacrifice my needs all the time. Right. And it was only when I sat with the pain of that wound did things start to change for me. I can very much remember a breakup where that wound came up, and it didn't make sense because this person that we broke up with, we had dated for a few months, and it was absolutely the right move. I've told the story I think before on here, but it was the pain was so disproportionate to what had happened, and I was like, why does this hurt so bad? And it was because of this wound for so long of me just ignoring myself when pain arises and throwing myself back into work or into something to distract me. And so this one time I finally said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to sit in this. I'm going to sit in it. I'm going to feel everything I need to feel from it. And then I'm going to have discernment on what I need to extract from this situation. Again, what do I really need to take from this? Positive, negative, and everything in between.
All right, guys, quick pause. If this episode is hitting home, I created a free burnout quiz that takes less than 2 minutes. It helps you pinpoint exactly how burnout shows up for you and what shifts you can take to start feeling happier, calmer, and more in control. Most executives tell me the results feel eerily accurate, so head over to the link in the show notes and you can take the quiz there.
And once I learned to get comfortable doing that, once I learned to get comfortable crying and bawling and ugly crying, neighbors probably thought I was being murdered cry, and admitting to myself that I didn't feel good enough. Do you guys know how hard it is to do that? I was the queen of lying to myself. I was the queen of bullshit. I was the queen of looking put together all the time. And deep beneath all of that was the fact that I didn't feel good enough. Being able to say that to yourself out loud is fucking hard when you pride yourself on showing up a certain way. And saying that out loud, owning that, and then also being open about it. I'm not saying you got to go share it on a podcast, but talking with my girlfriends about the experiences, talking with my mom about how I grew up feeling not good enough. You know what I mean? Just airing out this wound, being able to sit in that discomfort and not problem solve it, not run from it, just healed something on such a deep level. And I really believe that's why I've been able to attract my partner now, Thomas. And I tell people all the time, the part about our relationship that I love the most, and it's not the most sexiest, glamorous thing, is our ability to navigate tough times, our ability to have tough conversations, our ability to navigate conflict. Every time we've done that, whether it be something small or something a little bit deeper, every time we do that, we come back together even stronger. And that's why I feel so secure in my relationship, is because of how we've handled tough times. Again, we don't sugarcoat anything. We address it as soon as possible. We weren't we've been together a year at this point. We had all the tough conversations up front. And that's what I've heard from a few of my clients or friends who maybe are dating, and they're like, well, I don't want to rush into anything. I remember one client I had, and he was dating someone for I think 8 months almost at this point. He's like, well, I don't know if I want to make her my girlfriend. And I was kind of why? And he's like, well, I don't quite know her yet. And granted, he was divorced, he had kids. And he's being mindful of his children and his family. He's like, I need to get to know a few more things from her. And I said, here's the thing. I said, you're looking for more time to feel more secure in your relationship. I said, the only way you're going to feel more secure in your relationship is to go through things together. I said, you need to see what life's like when you're both sick and you're on 3 hours of sleep. You need to see what life is like when she is anxious and you got to pull over on the side of the road and change a tire and she's not going to help you. You got to see what life is like when you come home to a messy house and the kids are screaming and how you navigate each other then. Like, that's the only way to really build security in your relationship. Because again, how do we show up when shit gets hard, right? And what I'm so grateful for with my partner now is that he holds space for me, I hold space for him, and we never leave conflict without being on the same page. By the end of that conversation, we have come to a place of agreement, of alignment, of making sure each other feels seen and heard. And some of those conversations might have tears. Some of those conversations might be just a 5-minute one. Like, it's the range of them. But regardless, what we make sure we do every time is we come to a cohesive team agreement on whatever it is. And sometimes that's agreeing to disagree, but acknowledging what we can take from it and loving each other through the process and knowing what each other needs from it. But it can feel, if you've never had that before, and if you don't know how to do that with yourself, it will feel so raw and vulnerable in the moment, and you will resort back to a child. Right? You guys have heard me talk a lot about the inner child and about how our nervous system has imprints, right? And if you have an abandonment wound like I do, or a not feeling good enough wound like I do, when I go into tough conversations, even still today with all the work I've done, my subconscious reaction is he's going to leave me. Okay, like I'm just being real with you guys. And it can be something simple. And I'll just get a whiff of something from my past, and not even a past relationship, just a past feeling of not feeling good enough. And my subconscious will be like, is he going to leave you? We don't want him to leave us. And before I would have that feeling and I would be like, oh my God, just pretend it's not there. Just don't say anything. Now what I've learned to do is I voice that when I feel it. Now, the key here, though, is I don't expect him to resolve my emotional issues. Like, I'm not looking at him to make me feel better or to make that abandonment wound go away. What I do appreciate from him is he holds space for me when I voice that, and he gives me the reassurance that I need to work through it on my own. Okay? So when I say something to him like, I'm scared that like you'll leave me or I'm going to be abandoned, I'm not expecting him to drop everything and be like, no, Mintu, I'm going to make that go away. I don't want you to feel that way. All he has to do is he's like, well, I don't want you to feel that way. And I want you to know that's not going to happen. And that's it. Now, does that make the feeling go away right away? No, it doesn't, because this wound existed way before he showed up. But what it does is it gives me just enough space to sit with what's going on within me. Right? And it's wild if you've ever experienced it. Like, it's like, I'm 37 years old. How can I be abandoned? Right? Like, I'm a full functioning adult. I have my own homes. I have my own money. Like and anyone could leave, including the parents who birthed me. You know what I mean? Like, my mom could pass away. My father's already passed away. Like, those were really the only ones that like nurture you and raised you. And even when they leave, I'm a full functioning adult now. Like, I really can't be quote unquote abandoned anymore. Yet the feeling feels so real, like a child, right? And again, this is where our nervous system is communicating with us, saying that, hey, there's still a little bit more work to do here. You know, there's still a little bit more of that feeling. And even if as I say that out loud, like, I don't know if that feeling when you have a wound that deep, I don't know if it ever fully goes away. I think you just get better at managing it and navigating it. And for me, what that's looked like is when I have that feeling of fear, I just sit with it. and I acknowledge it. I don't pretend it's not there. I don't pretend to go back to put together Mintu. I sit in the fact that I'm scared. I sit in the fact that this situation triggered me. I sit in the fact that, hey, you know, I need to connect with myself right now, because if I'm feeling like I could potentially be abandoned, that's a 5-year-old or a 3-year-old version of me feeling that, not 37-year-old version, There's something to learn from that pain, but does it ever fully go away? I don't think so. I haven't experienced that, and I'm saying this as someone who's been very diligent and very tuned into my healing over the past how many years I've been on this journey. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if that fully ever gets resolved. I think that's part of the polarity of being human.
Okay, if you're an executive who's craving more clarity, happiness, and a sense of real inner peace in your day-to-day, make sure you hit follow so you never miss an episode. This show is here to help you lead, succeed, and actually feel good while doing it. And if something resonates today, give it a like and share it with someone else who could use a little bit more calm in their life too.
But what I will see is every time I feel that, to me, it's just a reminder to come back to self. To me, it's a reminder that, yeah, it's great that I have this partner that holds space for me when I'm feeling this way. And oh my God, I've never had that before. And he's God sent, literally. But it's a call for me to come back to me and to spend some time connecting with myself. Because again, as much as he can support me in the moment, it's up to me to navigate the discomfort. And I don't want to run from the discomfort or pretend it's not there. I want to sit with it. I want to feel it. I want to learn everything I can from it. And most importantly, just realize that if I'm feeling that way, it doesn't mean anything's wrong. It just means I'm human. And the other thing I'd mention about this is, like, for anyone who's maybe single right now and doing your healing on your own, I think that's really important. But the other side of it is, like, I remember I got to a point where I'd been single for years and I was like doing all the work. I was doing meditation, I was doing energy healing, I was working with my nervous system, like you name it, I was doing it. And then I realized one day, I was like, no one can trigger me if I'm alone in my living room. Like, how am I going to really know if I've done the work, if this is healing and all this stuff I've been doing is actually changing anything in me, if I'm not putting myself in situations to test that? Right? So is this fine balance of getting really in tune with yourself, but then also experiencing the world. Your nervous system learns through experiences, right? So if it's never being triggered, if it's never being put in situations to test your responses, your reactions, etc., you're not going to know. So if you've been single for a while and you've been doing this work, then my note to that would just be like, go out, get out there, put yourself in situations, but just don't get lost in that, right? Like if you find yourself in a new relationship, if you find yourself dating, don't forget about all the work you just did on your own. One doesn't replace the other. They both have to work simultaneously. And again, that goes back to my point of, like, even when I tell, my partner that I'm feeling abandoned, he knows how to hold space for me, but it's ultimately up to me. And so, again, I just wanted to speak on this today because I think that fear of abandonment and that fear of being alone is something we all have. Like, we all feel it at some point in our life. And it's maybe something we don't want to voice out loud because, again, it sounds silly, but it's not. And your ability to sit with that, to face it, to own it is what's going to set you apart and what's going to allow you to attract the type of love you want in your life. And maybe you already have it. Good for you. Maybe this is just a reminder for you to dive into that a little bit deeper, to invite you and your partner to explore these areas a little bit more and to explore conflict more. I think it's natural human tendency to want to avoid it because it's uncomfortable. It's yucky. How long is this going to last? Like, I think we all naturally want to avoid discomfort and breakdown. But shit, man, that's where the magic lies. Like, it really does. And And then on the other side of it is if you're in a relationship and you're trying to do that with your partner and they don't have the capacity, well, then that's another set of questions you have to pose. I'm not saying it's as simple as breaking up. You might have kids and businesses and decades behind you. But if you guys are having a hard time navigating conflict or sitting in the messy moments of being human, then you might need some help. You might need some support. And my suggestion is if you're in that position, if you need some support as a couple, my suggestion is getting support individually and support as a couple, because there's your issues, there's their issues, and there's the issues of the couple. And you don't want to go into couples counseling or therapy without like addressing your individual ones as well, right? Because then everything gets convoluted. But if you guys are having a hard time sitting in the discomfort and sitting in the messiness, then maybe it's time to get some outside help, you know? But avoiding things and running from things, or again, positively bypassing things, isn't the way. Yeah, it keeps you a little bit more sheltered, again, a little bit more comfortable, but it will blow up in your face. I've been there. And I've seen many of friends also go through that too, where it's just like, again, it's avoidance. It's avoidance. And, probably if you want to explore that a little bit more, you could even look at something like attachment styles. That's going to help you understand yourself a little bit more with how you navigate conflict in relationships. But embrace those moments, whether you're in a relationship or not. Use those moments as feedback, not as judgment against the situation, the person, or even yourself. It's a feedback loop. How do we navigate this? How do I sit with this, right? And don't forget, the number one cause of, or the number one group, oh my God, I'm not saying this great. The primary group of people that suffer from autoimmune disease are women, okay? And it's not because we're women. It's because women are the group that tend to suppress their emotions, identify with, the role of giving to everyone else before themselves. Like that's their main identity. And they also tend to put everyone else before themselves and sacrifice their needs in the process. It's those behavioral patterns that are associated with autoimmune disease, man, woman, indifferent. Okay. It tends to be women who typically have those more. So the ability to express your emotions is vital to your quality of life, is vital to your health, to your relationships, to everything. But that doesn't mean just expressing the good emotions. That it means expressing the shitty, uncomfortable, messy ones, the ones you're scared to say out loud, the ones you're embarrassed to say out loud. Those are the emotions you need to express. The cries where you feel again like a child, don't hold those in. You need to get them out. And if you're at a point where you can't do anything but get them out and you're kind of in a spiral in that case, that's not a moment of judgment of saying, holy shit, get it together. That's a moment of saying, wow, I've been suppressing a lot of shit and I need to deal with it. I need to start finally addressing this. I need to start, airing this stuff out, because you can't clean a wound if it's always bandaged up. And every time, I was just talking with a client about this who just went through a breakup, and she's like, she's been doing great. Honestly, she's been navigating it so well. And she's like, well, sometimes I still have this cry. It'll just come out of nowhere. Or I'll be on a drive and all this pain comes up and I don't know what to do. And I just feel like I'm regressing. And I told her, I said, don't look at it as regression. Every time you have a cry, every time you have this moment of pain, look at it as the wound cleaning itself out even more, right? Every time you have a cry and you release, oh, we just cleared a little bit more dirt out of the wound. Every time you have a vent session and you just, vent to your girlfriend, oh, we just clean out a little bit more of the wound. We're healing every time we do that. But if we try and suppress it, if we try and hold it all in, or try to pretend it's not what it is, all that's doing is festering and infecting that wound more. Okay? So if 2026 is a year that's important to you to really build on your relationships and cultivate them, not only just with the people around you, but with yourself, don't look for all the fun stuff to do. Don't look for like, oh, I just want to go on vacation and I want to, go out for more dinners. Like, yes, fun and joy is important. Of course it is. But also look at, what have I been avoiding? What have I been avoiding? What have I been downplaying? What actually needs my attention finally? Okay. Because again, yes, the joy is important. We don't want to forget that. But if we're just using joy to distract us from dealing with what's underneath the surface, our relationships are always going to be stunted. You're only going to be able to get so far. Because again, the quality of our relationships lies in our ability to navigate conflict and sit in the discomfort. I have a deep abandonment wound. I have a deep fear of not being good enough. And if you would have asked Mintu 3 years ago to say that out loud, she would have been mortified. And now it's honestly what's built my business, is my ability to say that out loud and sit in all those feelings and be able to connect with people on an authentic level because they're experiencing it too. Being able to face those things in my life and be able to sit with them and not run from them has changed my life for the better in so many ways, again, professionally and personally. And so if anything, I hope today's podcast was an invitation for you to do the same. Know that you're not going to die. And on that note, sometimes you're going through some of this pain, it will feel like you're dying. Like, again, that same client, she went through a breakup and she's like, sometimes, Mintu, I feel like I'm dying inside. I said, because a part of you is. There's a version of you that is dying off in this moment. But that's like suicidal ideation. They talk about people feel that, but then what they do is they give all their energy to the fact that they feel like they should die, when really what's happening is just a version of you is dying off, a version of you that's served its purpose, that we're grateful for, that we love, but that's ready to evolve to the next level of whatever life looks like, whatever relationships look like for you. So sometimes that pain is so deep. And again, you do feel like you're going to die, but it's just because a version of you is dying off, not because you're meant to go anywhere. It's a skin that's being shed and a layer that's being peeled back. And yes, it's going to be uncomfortable as fuck. But I promise you, everything will get better when you can just learn to sit with the very things that you're avoiding.